Oh, after doing all these part works, I think I need to take the weight off my feet.
Makes me feel good.
So welcome to stage 47, the front seat parts, and as always we'll do a parts check. So we have 47A, which is the front seat, and I noticed that this is a part for later. They put it already in the seat. I don't know if that was on purpose just to sort of save space, but I've taken it out for the purposes of the build. And this is rubber, kind of a rubbery material with this lovely detail on it. I think this is to emulate leather, but it does a very good job. I've got a couple of pit marks in there, probably from delivery. I'm not going to worry about that too much. I don't think that will show once it's actually built. The next part that we have is the front seat sponge. This is just an ordinary piece of sponge. The kind of sponge you'd get as packing material. Does the job very well. And there it is. Piece C is the front seat inner. So there it is there. Very solid, so it's not going to break easily once that's in place. We also have the front seat base bracket ×2. So these two pieces of plastic. So these are obviously, as the name suggests, some kind of bracket. And then in addition we have 3 sets of screws. We have 5 1.7 by 5mm AP screws. We have 10 IP screws, which are 2 by 5mm. And then we have 14 MP screws, and these are the little top hat screws. And there's, I say, 14 of these. These are 1.7 by 5mm. Okay, so what we need to be doing is to assemble the front seat base, and we begin by taking the front seat, which is 47A. So the inside part is facing you, so that's this way round. So it's ugly side up. Should we call that? Can we get away with calling it that? I know this isn't ugly, but I think for the purposes of description. We then need to insert the front seat sponge, 47B, and that's this piece, and it's obviously going to go with these markings lining up there. So we'll slide that into there like so, slip that under there, and then we'll just make sure it doesn't get caught on the tabs, and that's in there nicely like that. And then we want to push the front seat inner in place, which is 47C, and obviously it's going to go this way because it's going to take on the contour of the seat. So again, we will do that the same way we did the seat. We'll slip that carefully under there like so, and then we'll just bring this tab up. And then obviously what we want to do then is to make sure this sponge is all nice and smooth. So I'm not sure, it feels a little bit lumpy there, so I'm just going to take this out, and that looks fine. So keep popping these tabs back. We'll have another look. There we go. I think it felt a bit lumpy because I actually didn't have these tabs in place properly. See this middle one there? That's going to be an easy one to miss. Bring that round, and yeah. So all of our tabs are in place. You see there, everyone's in properly. This one is trying to escape, and this feels nice and, on the whole, nice and flat. So what we want to do now is we want to get our MP screws out, and we will need 11 in total. So, and what I think I'm going to do, I'm going to arrange these a row of 4, a row of 5, and then one on each side. So in case you didn't guess why, the reason I've arranged my screws in this funny order is because we have 4 screw holes there, so that corresponds with those. 2, 3, 4, 5 along there, which corresponds with these 5, and then one on each side. So I'm going to do the same thing that I do virtually every single issue, not all issues. I'm going to get these screwed in. So let me show you the first one, and then I might as well go into fast motion for the next. So I'm going to pop that one in just enough to bite. Then I'm going to fill all the rest in just enough to bite, maybe doing alternate. Then I'm going to check it, make sure everything's in place properly, the seat feels level and nice, and then I'm going to go round and I'm going to tighten the screws up properly. Okay, I'll see you guys in, what, 20-30 seconds? So, as you see, I called in for reinforcements there and used my electric screwdriver. Don't use an electric screwdriver unless you're really comfortable with it. You do run the risk of over tightening the screws, and you can see I have done a little bit there. You tend to lose control slightly. In this particular case, I've over screwed that, and I've just twisted the rubber bit. So make sure you check your work. But I'm happy with that. Those screws aren't going anywhere. This seat base isn't going anywhere. I found this was the biggest culprit for trying to escape, because as you can see, there's no support from anything else because there's a hole either side. I've got a little bit of sponge showing. I don't think that's going to be a major problem. So on to the next stage. We need to be popping these brackets into somewhere. Yes, of course. So we need to bring through the part that we made in the previous issue, and I can see that. So if you remember, we made this in the last issue. What we're looking at doing is, with this triangular bit pointing downwards, we need to pop these seat bases, these supports, along there. It's quite confusing actually, because you have so many different holes and so many different recesses. But remember that those 4 recesses there in that square, they're actually screw holes in the brackets, and then that leaves those 4 there. Now these brackets, they have 2 little lugs on them and 2 holes, and can you see that they're not equally spaced? And the reason for that is that we can place that onto there like so, and then the 2 holes that are left line up exactly with the, can you see that you can see daylight through the holes? If you were to pop this on upside down, they will still fit, but can you see there's no daylight, there's nowhere to put the screws. So they're actually going in this way. Now the magazine suggests that you need to put both of them in, and then screw them down with AP screws. I'm going to suggest that you do one at a time, because obviously while you're doing the other one, the first one's going to be doing that. So that's a nice simple job. Okay, so we'll pop the first screw in. I'm going to pop the middle one in first. Now I tried to pop that in just enough to bite, but that's not going. Yes, because I've done it the wrong way round. I do apologise, and this was the reason I was going to ask you to do them one at a time. I am so sorry. Right, so seat base support, and then we actually screw them in from the opposite side. That's why the screw didn't go in. I actually had that. I seem to be making a mistake on every part work issue that I do now. I don't know if I'm going too fast, perhaps. Not looking at the probably not looking at the instructions enough. There we go. So that one's gone in fine. And there's a very fine line between just popping the screws in enough to bite and actually putting them in fully. So I'm just going to go straight in, put them in fully. Because there's only 2 screws, it's not going to go skew whiff anywhere. But that's absolutely fine, that's perfect. So we'll do the same with this one, and we'll pop this, and there you can see, I can see daylight through the holes, so I know they're in correctly. And then should really load my screwdriver up beforehand so that it's ready to go. And I'll pop that first screw in there. Lovely. And then the second screw. And there we go. So make sure they're in solid, which they are. Once they're in solid, you don't need to do any more with the screw. And that is a little bit flexible, but that's starting to get there now. So the last stage is to pop this bit from the previous stage onto there. Now you can see 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. So, and then obviously where these notches are in the backs of the seats, they're going to go into there like so. And that's a bit of a squeeze. Right. I think I see the issue here. I think it's, there we go. So it takes a little bit of an effort to get it on, not a major effort, and I can kind of feel it clicking into place. So what I want to do is just gently lift this up, and I cannot actually see if that's locked in place, if it's gone into the right place. And there's only really one way that I'm going to find that out, and that is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So I'm just counting screws. If I don't count the screws and I get leftover screws after I've been put them together, I freak out. So there's only one way I can see that you'll know if that's lined up, and that's to actually pop the screws in. If it's lined up, the screws will go in perfect. If it's not lined up, they just won't connect with anything. So let's pop this one in, and this is why I like to say pop them in just enough to bite. So we'll pop this one in, and I think that first one went in. You can feel the difference between a screw that's biting and a screw that's not biting. Yeah, that's gone in fine. So, and I'll do them alternate. At least then that way we've got one on each row that's biting. Because again, this one, that feels like it's gone in. And then there's this one, because this seat base did have a bit of a bow to it. I wasn't concerned about that, because once you just see it straightened the bow up now, and I'm rather happy with that. So I see someone's moving something outside, judging by the noise. So 5th screw in. Sixth screw in. Let's go for this other corner next, shall we? There we go, and that's the final piece done. All the 8 screws are in, and someone did point this out to me. Obviously it's not obvious until you make this part, but this bit is actually moving. That is meant to move, because if you remember, round about there underneath there's a little hinge, so when we come to put the seat backs on there, is that like the old-fashioned cars where you used to have moved the seats forward to get into the back? I don't know. So that's excuse me, that's stage 47 complete. And one thing that I notice, I know these are the combined parts of 2 different issues, but there's actually quite a lot of weight to it. Now this on its own you think, oh, that's not a problem, but when you think we've got another set of seats, we've got the rest of the car, the chassis, the engine, we've got the rear of the car, we've got all the bits that's going to go in the car, that's going to be really, really heavy. So yeah, that's a nice, can we call that a chunky piece? Big, chunky, heavy. That's solid. It's not cheap, so I'm really happy with this. Obviously they're made as inexpensively as possible, but they're certainly not cheap. They're certainly the quality, so I'm really happy with that. So that's it for me for now. Hopefully you'll catch me in the next video, when we will be doing the driver and passenger seat backs, which means that this is going to get even heavier. Take care guys, bye bye.